Hello, everybody. So I've been thinking about ways to incorporate new tech into my elementary art classroom. So that would be pre-K through first grade. And this isn't an original idea. I've seen a picture somewhere of where children draw monsters and then older kids in high school art classes then take their illustrations and transform them into plush sewn dolls. So I kind of wanted to build on that idea and think through how I would actually do that and what standards would be satisfied by completing that activity. So to do that, I want to show you what I would start with my elementary kids, and I would probably read them a story like Henry Draws a Monster, and then the first bit of tech that I would use is a very simple YouTube video, so they could look and watch an actual artist drawing a monster.
The
So
monsters, think hair and horns. Put a pair of horns and a lot of hair on, and basically you have a monster.
kids
So
love
what I
watching
mean
people draw.
is, here's the hair. Like Horrid Henry's hair. There's some hair. And horns. Once you've got those on, basically you've got a monster.
And I'll just fast forward. We don't have to sit through the whole video, but what we would
right the way
do
up there, like
is we would watch this artist create his monster, and we would talk as a class about the choices that he was making, the lines that he was using, and break down the process that he was using to create the monster. And then I would have my children make a drawing of their very own. I have some Google images. Again, these are not images that my students created, but this is the idea. Even the most basic, we call this a head man. In pre-K level, they tend to have arms that grow out of the circle, which represents the head. Even a head man can be made into, a plush stuffed animal. So this is kind of the idea. And the idea behind it was Kathy Schrock's digital storytelling concept. And I like the idea of my students then being able to be recorded by me, the young children, talking about their monsters, maybe even creating a story about their monsters that they would then share with the older kids. And I would do that via the second bit of technology, which would be the Google Classroom, which I have never used before. I had to create my own account. But I like the idea of creating this classroom, and I would call it Monsters Alive, so that the older kids could then interact with my young students, in a time that's appropriate for them. We wouldn't have to bring them together physically, and they could see the drawings that the young students created, and hear them talking about their art. And then we could send over the drawings to the high school art room as well. This obviously would satisfy the anchor standard for using technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing. But the biggest key is to collaborate with others. That piece is fundamental in this project. Here in the ISTE standards, I feel like it would also work with the global collaborator part, and that would allow, the students to work together from two different schools, but they could still work and communicate with one another. So different age groups, different buildings, but yet they're working together as a team. So the makerspace concept would be where the older kids would work and create the plush stuffed animals using either hand sewing techniques and simple scissors and cutting, or even potentially some sewing machines. I feel like when I looked it up, or when I heard about it the first time, it was just hand sewing, nothing too technically advanced, just working with basic shapes and breaking down the images that the kids drew into shapes. Basically, that concludes my concept, which, I haven't done in real life, but the thought of it is pretty exciting. And for me, who's not very tech savvy, I feel like it would be doable. I could collaborate with the senior high art teacher, and using the technology that, I discussed here in my video, like the Google Classroom, we could share that information between buildings and really make it a successful. Oh, and then the end result, my favorite part, would be the older kids coming back into the elementary school and presenting the children with their plush stuffed animals. That would be the icing on the cake. So thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you enjoyed it.